Let's turn to WA. The Liberals over there are in crisis mode after the Deputy Leader of the party was forced to resign over links to disgraced former Premier Brian Burke. Ash Gillen is following the turmoil in Perth. Ash, the party has just elected a new deputy.
Yes, Tom, from one Steve to another. Steve Martin is the new WA Deputy Leader after his predecessor, Steve Thomas, resigned yesterday. Thomas had to fall on his sword after admitting that he'd spoken several times on the phone with Brian Burke. He said he wanted Burke's help in setting up a meeting with a prominent Perth businessman, John Poynton, about an electorate matter. Over the decades, of course, as you know, Tom, we've seen leaders on both sides of politics at a state and federal level really being forced to distance themselves from Burke. He is really seen to be toxic for politicians to be associated with. So it's pretty surprising that Thomas thought that it would be okay to have a few conversations with him. When you think about it, it's quite remarkable that Brian Burke's still managing to claim these political scalps. It's been 36 years since he resigned as WA Premier. He's now 77 years old, but it seems like he's never really totally disappeared from WA politics. Anyway, here was Steve Martin and Libby Mettam just a short time ago announcing their new leadership team.
Is clear, is the standard that I expect. And I have illustrated that with swift action in response to matters relating to Steve Thomas.
It's a great opportunity. It's not something that I anticipated happening, but I'm looking forward to the challenge.
So, Tom, recently in the WA Parliament, we've seen the Liberals trying to target Labor over their links to Brian Burke through one of his business partners, and Burke's connection in particular to a COVID rescue package for the live events industry and the building industry during COVID. Now, I've independently confirmed reports that Burke set up a lobby group for those sectors during COVID. He helped key players win government grants to see them through the pandemic. There was a catch, though. It's alleged Burke, along with another lobbyist, received a cut of that rescue fund, 10%, as a sort of success fee, essentially, for winning the government grant. So that's how Brian Burke's name has been back in Parliament in recent weeks. The Premier, Roger Cook, is saying that he had no idea Brian Burke was involved in any of that. He insists Brian Burke has no communication with him or any of his ministers. So really it's a bit ironic that it's the Liberals who have suffered here. For it to end up really as an own goal for the Liberals obviously isn't how they were planning for that to turn out.
This level of enthusiasm and interest is illustrative of what we can achieve going forward, and I believe it is a mark of confidence in our team. First responsibility of any person seeking preselection is to ensure that that is endorsed. Their next priority will be to win the support of their local communities.
Certainly quite the own goal. Ash, it comes as the party is trying to manage some tightly contested pre-selection battles.
Yes, and Libby Mettam, you just heard her there talking about that. There is one celebrity candidate, of course, that everyone's talking about. That's Basil Zempilas, the Channel 7 superstar and the Perth Lord Mayor. He's in the race for the seat of Churchlands. Now, nominations have just closed in the last half an hour for a number of seats, and I can reveal that I've just been told that no one else has nominated to go against Basil Zempilas. So it's a clear path for him, no competitors in the field. Pre-selectors, of course, could still reject him and open the field again, but you'd think he'll fly through that process. There's a lot of speculation that he could actually take over the Liberal Party leadership from Libby Mettam, potentially even before the state election, like Campbell Newman did in Queensland all those years ago. So that's putting a bit of pressure on Libby Mettam too. Then there's Hayley Cormann. Well, we all remember her as the wife of the former Finance Minister, Matthias. She's continued working as a barrister in Perth while Matthias has been off running the OECD. She's hoping to stand in South Perth, and she's also seen as another star candidate and possibly a future leader. But some factional games going on behind the scenes means that her success in that pre-selection battle is far from assured. I think if the Liberals reject someone like Hayley Cormann with her credentials, who is seen as such a star candidate, there really would need to be a lot of soul-searching as to how that all happens.
Yes, there's some interesting happenings there in the party generally, because federally as well, pre-selection have been messy there, and these are going to be ones that could be crucial for the next election, Ash.
Absolutely. We already know the incumbent MP, Ian Goodenough, was dumped by pre-selectors. This weekend, when the WA State Council meets, I understand there's no motivation among them to try and intervene to really save him. We did see the former Stirling MP, Vince Connolly. He won that pre-selection very convincingly. It was a landslide, really, 137 votes to Goodenough's 39 votes. So what Goodenough does next, and whether he stands as an independent, that could complicate things a bit for the Liberals. We'll have to watch that space. Today, just half an hour or so ago, nominations closed for Ben Morton's old seat of Tangi. It is a pretty crowded field there. There are 7 people nominating. Among candidates there, a couple of names that people might recognise: Ben Morton's former staffer Sean Ayres, and also a name I can't say I was too familiar with before, but Survivor fans will know Mark Wales. He's a former winner of the reality TV series, is also an SAS veteran, and he does sound like he is one of the front runners to win pre-selection in that seat. Meantime, I'm told the former WA Senator, Ben Small, he's well placed to be pre-selected tomorrow night in the seat of Forrest. So there are a few pollies, Tom, looking to make a comeback at next year's federal election. When it comes to the seat of Curtin, we know that was won by Kate Chaney, the independent, at the last election. The Liberals chose last weekend at that pre-selection battle to run Tom White against her. He's a former Colin Barnett staffer. He's a former Uber executive, and he beat pretty convincingly Matt Moran, a name which would be very familiar to a lot of political observers, a former 10 Network political reporter and Turnbull staffer. You'd think Matt will pop up elsewhere for the Liberals at some stage, but it is fair to say there's a lot of moving parts over here in the West for the Liberals at both the state and federal level. Plenty going on.
I'm sure it's not the last we'll hear from the boy from Boyer. Ash, thank you.